Coming up on this Wednesday edition of DayBreak, President Park Geun-hye is in Italy for a biennial summit of Asian and European leaders and a separate summit with the Italian Prime Minister. Meeting the head of South Korea's ruling party in Beijing, Chinese President Xi Jinping says the long-stalled six-party talks are still the best way to denuclearize North Korea. First, the World Health Organization warns there could be up to 10,000 new Ebola cases per week in West Africa by the end of this year. DayBreak begins now. Hello and thanks for joining us. To our viewers around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, October 15th here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to DayBreak. And we start at the nation's top office. President Park Geun-hye is now in Italy, beginning a 5-day trip in which she'll attend this year's Asia-Europe meeting in Milan. She'll also meet with Pope Francis and Italy's political leaders in Rome. Our Choi Son, who's travelling with the president, has the details.
Just 3 weeks after her diplomatic debut at the United Nations, President Park Geun-hye will attend the 10th summit of the Asia-Europe meeting, better known as ASEM, in Milan, Italy this week. In line with the summit's theme of responsible partnership for sustainable growth and security, the Korean president will talk about her vision for connectivity between Asia and Europe, in particular her campaign to link energy and logistics infrastructure between the two continents.
President Park will explain her Eurasia initiative to leaders from Europe and Asia and secure support from ASEM leaders.
It's speculated President Park may talk about North Korean issues at the global summit. On Friday, the president will visit Rome for summit talks with her Italian counterparts and seek stronger cooperation in her envisioned creative economy of converging IT with culture and other sectors. Seoul and Rome will also discuss increasing trade and joint energy projects.
Italy, the origin of the Renaissance and a fashion and cultural powerhouse, would be the best partner for Korea's creative economy.
Aside from economic relations, President Park will solidify Italy's support of her North Korea and unification policies. She will also pay a visit to Pope Francis, who made a historic visit to South Korea in August. Her latest visit is expected to bolster two-way relations as Korea and Italy celebrate the 130th anniversary of diplomatic ties this year. Choi Son, Arirang News.
Back here in Asia, and Chinese President Xi Jinping has reiterated his country's view that the six-party framework is the best way to persuade North Korea to give up its nuclear ambitions. Meeting with the leader of South Korea's ruling Saenuri Party, Kim Jongun, in Beijing on Tuesday, President Xi said that while talks haven't been held for some 6 years, they still represent the optimum process to deal with the problem. Speaking to reporters after their meeting, Kim said the Chinese leader stressed the multilateral dialogue could provide a sustainable, effective and irreversible way of denuclearizing the North, and that he wants the talks to resume as soon as possible. These six-party talks, made up of the two Koreas, the US, China, Japan and Russia, have been stalled since late 2008 when Pyongyang walked away from the negotiating table. Now to the mystery disappearance that gripped the world for a month or so. North Korean leader Kim Jongun has stepped out of the shadows in his first public appearance in nearly 6 weeks. His prolonged absence had fueled speculation over his health as well as his grip on power. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
With a walking stick firmly in hand, North Korean leader Kim Jongun has reappeared in public for the first time in 40 days. The North state-run Korean Central News Agency reported Tuesday that Kim gave field guidance at the newly built Wisang Scientist Residential District at Natural Energy Institute, although they did not specify when the visits took place. Kim's longest absence since coming into power in late 2011 had fueled rampant speculation about his health and even a possible coup. He had been walking with a limp since early July, up until his last public appearance at a concert with his wife on September 3rd. While Kim's re-emergence with a cane could be seen as his physical vulnerability, some experts say it will bolster the North Korean people's trust in their leader.
They will see him as someone who perseveres and who has overcome this challenge, and that when they have hardships, they may believe that Kim Jongun is setting an example for us, and we need to persevere and overcome our hardships as well.
But others question why Kim suddenly re-emerged after missing two high-profile public events, the Foundation Day of the North Korean state on September 9th and the anniversary of the establishment of the Workers' Party last Friday. But officials here at the Unification Ministry do point out that it is rare to see the North Korean leader walking with a cane. They say that Kim may have rushed back to the public eye to prove that he still maintains a firm grip on power. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea's permanent representative to the UN has revealed that while Seoul may be open to the idea of resuming tours to North Korea's Mount Kumgang, financial sanctions on the North would make it quite problematic in reality. During a parliamentary inspection of the Administration for Unification Affairs that was held in New York on Tuesday, Oh Jun said opening the tour business again would actually be the easy part. The hard part, he says, would be how to stop funds generated by the tours from violating economic sanctions. He said it would be difficult to exclude the possibility funds would be used for North Korea's weapons program. However, the representative said it was still far too early to get into too much detail, as there are still no plans to reopen the tours at this time. South Korea suspended tours to Mount Kumgang in 2008 after a South Korean tourist was shot dead by a North Korean soldier. Moving on to economic news now, and Thumka Cos, which is Korea's newest IT giant and one of its biggest, made a very strong debut on the Korean stock market on Tuesday. It's already established itself as the #1 listing on the junior and tech-heavy Kosdaq index, but privacy concerns over its messaging unit may have kept it from reaching what analysts thought would be its target price. Park Geun-hye has the details.
The new tech giant Thumka Cos got off to a strong start, with its shares closing up 9.5% on the first day of trading. This puts Thumka Cos' market cap at over $7 billion, easily surpassing Celltrion, the previous #1 on the country's junior index, Kosdaq. But not as strong as earlier expectations of $9.5 billion, amid recent privacy concerns spurred by reports that authorities are able to monitor Kakao messages real-time. Thumka Cos has apologized for the controversy, saying it will make privacy its top priority, even when that means risking a conflict with law.
We have not been responding to requests from investigators to monitor messages since October 7th, and that will continue.
Experts say such privacy concerns cannot bode well for this new IT player that's looking to tap into mobile payment business, taking advantage of the already high market share of KakaoTalk.
Thumka Cos thinks its new financial businesses will suffer if it fails to gain trust from users over the services it currently provides.
The security vow comes as the new company also tries hard to maintain its 35 million local users in a country of 50 million. Users fearing possible government surveillance are migrating to other messenger services like German-based Telegram, that's attracted more than 650,000 new subscribers in Korea last week. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye has been stressing the need for regulatory reforms to boost domestic and foreign investment here in Korea, and actions are being taken to build Korea's reputation as a country that is much more investor-friendly than it was perhaps in the past. Our Song Ji-sun has this report.
Challenging Singapore, Shanghai and other major cities in Asia for the regional headquarters of multinational companies, That's Seoul's aim and the sole purpose of a revision to Korea's Foreign Investment Promotion Act, which goes into effect on Wednesday. Seoul will now acknowledge the branch of a global mother company as a regional headquarters if it has an average revenue of $3 billion over the past 5 years, if they employ more than 10 people here, and if more than half of their investment shares come from overseas. To be recognized as a research and development center, they'll need 5 permanent researchers with $100,000 in investments receive incentives. Creating new jobs is also an important criteria in receiving government benefits. Those that hire 200 or more employees, with total investments exceeding $2.5 million, will get a 100% reduction in rent at government-run foreign investment complexes. Before this revision, foreign manufacturers needed to invest $5 million to receive a 75% reduction. Foreign direct investment has hit a record high this year, logging $15 billion in the third quarter, up about 40% from the same period last year. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy says attracting high value-added foreign investment is crucial to realizing the nation's potential economic growth. 송지선, Arirang News.
Now, the world's largest smartphone maker, Samsung Electronics, and Facebook are looking to forge a new friendship. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg met with Samsung Electronics' vice chairman Lee Jae-yong at Samsung's main office in Seoul on Tuesday to discuss ways to step up cooperation between the two tech Goliaths. Joining the two IT chiefs were Samsung's mobile division chief Kim Jongun, who leads the company's Galaxy phone business, and Facebook's COO Sheryl Sandberg. Now, industry watchers say the two tech giants may have discussed possible production of Facebook smartphones and wearable virtual reality devices. Zuckerberg is scheduled to visit Samsung headquarters in Suwon on this Wednesday. Time now for a look through the international headlines we're following on this Wednesday morning. For that, we turn to our Eunice Kim, standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. A UN medical official who had contracted Ebola while volunteering in Liberia has died in Germany, marking the latest fatal case of the disease outside of West Africa. Doctors at the hospital confirmed the 56-year-old Sudanese man had passed away on Monday night despite receiving an experimental drug as part of what they called intensive medical measures. He was the third Ebola patient to be treated in Germany. A man from Senegal was recently released after being declared virus-free. This as the World Health Organization says the number of confirmed Ebola cases is poised to eclipse 9,000 cases this week in West Africa. Assistant Director General Bruce Aylward said on Tuesday the epidemic was still expanding geographically in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, some of those areas bordering other countries. He added WHO projections showed that there could be between 5,000 and 10,000 new cases per week by the start of December. He said the group's goal was to logistically organize an Ebola response that could properly manage 70% of those cases by then. Hundreds of demonstrators in Hong Kong were huddled in a makeshift barricade near the offices of the Hong Kong government and legislature last night, following a violent night of confrontation with police who tried to disperse them. Local news sources say riot police used pepper spray and batons after the protesters occupied a tunnel on Lung Wo Road, on important east-west artery that had been left open to traffic for most of the sit-ins previously. Traffic was brought to a halt there, though cars and buses drove freely through Queensway Road after police used chainsaws and sledgehammers to clear the thoroughfare of bamboo and concrete barricades earlier on Tuesday. Protesters have been demanding full democracy for the former British colony, blocking traffic in the Asian financial hub for more than 2 weeks. Under tight security, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon toured a devastated Gaza Strip on Tuesday, riddled with destruction following a 50-day conflict between Israel and Palestine's Hamas militants. He described what he saw as, quote, beyond description, far worse than what he saw after the previous conflict, and said it was a source of shame to the international community. He also urged a speedy reconstruction effort, saying that Israel was allowing the first truckload of construction materials to enter the coastal strip, earlier blockaded by Israel and Egypt since before the conflict. Earlier this week, international donors had pledged $5.4 billion towards the rebuilding effort.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with DayBreak.
Right, well, as we mentioned before, Mark Zuckerberg is in town, but he wasn't the only world-famous guest to arrive in Seoul on Tuesday. A giant rubber duck that's been popping up around the world in recent years landed in a famous lake here, in the capital. The artist behind the so-called rubber duck project says it's intended to heal wounds and relieve tension. Our Gwon-soa reports.
A giant yellow guest from the Netherlands has been getting a lot of attention since arriving at Seoul's Seokchon Lake from early Tuesday. This duck looks exactly like the rubber duck kids often play with in the bathtub, just a lot bigger. The purpose of the 16.5-meter tall art piece? Healing and relieving tension around the world, according to the creator of the rubber duck project, Florentine Hoffman. He has been sending the duck to waters around the world since 2007.
I saw a lot about the rubber duck project on social networking sites and was very excited when I heard it would come to Korea. Now that I'm seeing it with my own eyes, it's very cute.
But there is controversy mixed in with the cuteness. Not the short deflation period in the afternoon on the first day. But many people have wondered aloud why it is being floated in the relatively small-sized Seokchon Lake and not Seoul's famous Hamgang River. Fingers have been directed at Lotte, one of the organizers of the project, which just so happens to have opened a new mega mall not too far from the lake.
There have been many cases where this project has been misused for commercial means, and that's why we discuss every detail with the artist beforehand. All the profits we make go to charity.
That is maybe why visitors did not hesitate to stand in lines to buy rubber ducks that cost around $22 US. Gwon-soa, Arirang News.
Now, the health benefits of vegetables are, of course, extremely well known. They're packed full of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants and other goodness. Some scientists also say veggies have anti-cancer properties, and one researcher in Korea says his team has developed a cross-breed of Korean cabbage and turnip that could keep the devastating disease at bay. Our Shin Se-min reports.
This vegetable may look normal on the surface, but it's much, much more. It contains components that fight cancer and is the first so-called functional veggie in the world. Developed by a seed expert in Chungcheongbuk-do province after years of study, this produce is a crossbreed of Korean cabbage and turnip and contains an excessive amount of beta-carotene that is associated with reducing the risk of cancer.
I used a biotechnology technique called microspore cultivation to fully embrace its characteristics.
Park says the vegetable can be grown all year round using regular cultivation methods. It has also been genetically modified to be insect-resistant and has strong soil adaptability, so it can even be grown in a small garden.
The pace of growth is much faster than other produce, and it is fresher and crunchier as we have to gather them daily.
The only catch right now is that the seeds are quite pricey. Experts say the cost will come down, however, as farmers begin reaping the profits from their mass production and as more consumers begin reaching for healthier options. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the big match that took place last night as the 63rd ranked Korean national football team went up against the 15th ranked Costa Rica, hoping for their second win under manager Uli Stilicke. Now both sides trying to get through the defense, but to no avail until the 37th minute was Celso Borges pulling through for Costa Rica, giving them a 1-0 lead. But just before the first half ends, the Lion King Lee Dong-guk does it again as he pokes one past the goalkeeper for the equalizer. But shortly after the second half kicks off, the defense proves to be a problem for Korea once again as Celso Borges scores his second goal of the night, giving the South Americans the 2-1 lead before Oscar Duarte makes it 3-1 with a brilliant header here as Uli Stilicke gets his first loss as the head coach. And now moving over to the Women's V-League Media Day, which took place on Tuesday afternoon as 6 teams got together to talk about the upcoming season. With the 6 coaches and 1 representative players from each team taking part in the annual media day, most of the coaches believe that the IBK Altos are the team to beat this year, despite GS Caltex winning the championship last season. With the new season kicking off this Saturday, the men's media day will take place later today. Well, it's a lot earlier than we hoped, but LA Dodgers lefty Lee Hyun-jin returned to Korea on Tuesday after another successful season in the majors. Now, after the LA Dodgers were eliminated in the National League Division Series, the South Korean lefty landed in Korea on Tuesday with a large crowd of fans and media waiting for him. And during the press conference, he stated that despite a good season, he gave himself a 70 for the season, citing his injuries he sustained this past season. Now, he added that next season he hopes to pitch at least 200 innings and lower his ERA. And staying in baseball, but over to some Tuesday night KBO action as the Nexen Heroes crushed the Lotte Giants 12-4 with Nexen's Park Geun-hye hitting his 50th and 51st home run on the night. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Samsung Lions take on the NC Dinos with Samsung's magic number at 1. And of course, going into the game here, second inning, Kim Tae-won, that one is out of here. A solo shot over the left field wall, and it's 1-0 Samsung. Bottom of the inning, Eric Thames, number 37 on the season as the NC Dinos tie the game at 1-1. Now blanks across the board the rest of the way until the bottom of the 8th, Lee Jong-wook, a triple to right, and that scores Lee Sang-ho as NC takes the lead 2-1. And with 2 pitchers combining a 1-2-3 ninth inning for the Dinos, NC wins this one 2-1 with Samsung's magic number still at 1. And now finishing things off in the KBL, where the Ulsan Mobis Phoebus win their second straight, this time against Cheonju KCC Aegis 75-70. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Seoul SK Knights take on the Goyang Orions. Now, a rather close game from the start as the Orions take a slim 20-15 lead after the first quarter before going to the second half with a comfortable 41-32 lead. And despite SK trying to close in on the game, the biggest difference maker here is the 50% three-point shooting by Goyang, as he scored 11 threes in the game to cruise through 83-67. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Well, it's another chilliest morning of the season that we are waking up to this morning. It's chillier than it was yesterday at this time, and daily lows in many regions are kicking off at single digit, including here in Seoul, and a cold wave advisory is still in place for parts of Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do, and Chungcheong-do provinces today. And but lots of sun will be shining down on us throughout the day, sending temperatures warm well into 20. So the daily highs will be similar to yesterday, hovering 20 degrees Celsius. So with that, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. Now, the daily low in Seoul is starting out at 8, but the high will rise to 20, while Daegu, Gwangju, and Busan will all see highs of 21 this afternoon. Now, for other regions, it looks like Jeju Island and Daejeon will see highs of 20, and Dokdo peaks at 16 this afternoon. Well, it's chilly out there, so be sure to dress warmly before heading out today. That's all from me at this hour, and let's send it back to Mark in the studio.
Thank you very much, Jion, for the weather update there. And those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Korea Today has many more stories coming up in about half an hour's time. We'll be back throughout the day with many more news updates. Goodbye.